What is good, everybody? It is your boy Piston Mike. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell button for your boy. 70% of you guys are not subscribed. I don't know why. It don't cost you anything, not even a dime. Today, we are going to go live again with one of my favorite Piston writers. He's absolutely knows a lot about basketball, very knowledgeable. I love doing lives with him. But let's get into the most controversial topics. One, Jerami Grant being traded. Number two, the two-way guys, Cassius Stanley and Derek Walton Jr. That's going to be our topics. And three, who should we trade for? Who should we go after in free agency? We're going to be talking about all topics. So if you're ready, let me know. So, yeah, man. Let's get into it. Having a great day. Always, man. I hope y'all staying blessed and hope y'all had a good New Year's. Hope y'all safe.
Oops, I had the camera on the wrong way.
No, that's all good. Hope you had a great New Year.
Yeah, same to you, man.
Yeah, I did. And let's get into today's video. But before that, make sure, I always want you to plug your stuff. Make sure to let the people know where they can find you at, man.
Yeah, again, I'm Steve Pelletier. I write for DetroitBadBoys.com, the best place for Pistons content online. You can find my stuff there. The most recent thing I did was the 30-game recap. Every 10 games, I'll do progress reports. I did one for 10 games, 20 games, 30 games. The next one will be more at the halfway point at 41 games, since that's traditionally like the halfway point. Now, I'll do a little bit different grading system, but definitely be putting out reports for the dudes there. I mainly do draft stuff too. I'm working on a couple draft articles right now. Maybe drop a big board soon, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, when when he dropped that big board, we might need to do a live stream on that. Let me know if y'all want to see that, just because it would be great. And I'll make sure I put all of his stuff when I do lives with him in the description. I'm gonna put some of the articles in there. Y'all make sure y'all go check it out, because he does a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it always.
Oh, no problem, man. We gotta support one another. Always.
Yeah, always.
So what did you want to talk about first? I want to talk about the Jerami Grant topic, because I don't think people realize. One thing I wanted to say is, it's hard for you to go from the third guy on the team to go to a team like Detroit and become the man, and then go right back to being that third guy. People don't understand that. That is hard to want to do. And them teams that are like on the fringe, like maybe you want to just say like the Wizards, or like somebody like the Timberwolves or somebody like that. Who is really the guy? I mean, they got guys there, but who is really the guy for them? Like, I know Bradley Beal, of course, is the guy for the Wizards, but who is that second guy besides Bradley Beal?
Yeah, I completely agree with that too. I mean, the obvious one, even though they don't have anything, is the Lakers, because they're in super panic mode right now. But the only real trade chips they have are Braun, Russ, and AD. And it doesn't seem like they're trading them. Russ deal's like super hard to get off of too. And just he's been moved around so much now, it's just odd to know like where he would go, or what would happen. But I mean, the Lakers are the obvious choice. I think Portland is another one. But again, like we talked about last time, they don't have anything unless you are a really big Nasir Little and Anthony Simons fan. I know you like Simons, but like long term, is he going to stick around? I think he's up for a contract extension soon off his rookie deal. And he's a pretty big downgrade from Grant, right? And even if you added those two pieces, Simons and Little, and then you got to attach other things. You probably have to take on a deal like Covington and or Larry Nance Jr., which is not a bad thing, but again, that just seems like such a poor return for Jerami Grant, right? Who's still a 20-point per game scorer. Atlanta would be the one, though. When you were talking about fringe, I still come back to Atlanta. Unfortunately, Cam Reddish just got hurt again, so maybe that kind of throws a wrench in it. But I'm looking at the Basketball Reference homepage right now, and Atlanta's in 12th position, 16 and 19. So they're another one that I think is like prime panic trade because, everybody was talking about them as, they're going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Trae Young is going to be an MVP, sleeper candidate, and whatever. And Trae Young's still balling, but they really haven't been that great. Washington, Charlotte, Cleveland really stepped it up to where Atlanta just doesn't have any kind of response, and I think they would be another one. I'm just going to rattle off a few teams now because anywhere from 7 to like 12 range, I feel like is probably what you're talking about, right? In the East, that's Charlotte, Washington, Boston, Toronto, New York, Atlanta. And then in the West, it's the Lakers, the Mavericks, the Timberwolves, the Kings, the Spurs, and the Trailblazers.
The teams that come quickly to mind, and I don't know if it's you, I think Washington could be a one to look at, even though they haven't really got nothing too crazy. But I could see them making a panic trade because they got all them players. They got Spencer Dinwiddie. They got Montrezl Harrell. They're trying to compete. So that's another team that might just be like, all right, we need to do something now. We want to get to the playoffs, this, that, and the third. Let's go make a trade. Another one is the Timberwolves because they got Karl Anthony Towns, they got D'Lo. They might want Jerami Grant to be that third guy. I think Grant, he might take a bit of a back row, but I don't think it'd be that much. With Karl Anthony Towns and D'Lo, I don't think it'd be that much because you would need to trade probably what's his name?
I don't know. Let me look at the money there. So,
but I don't think they
Beasley's making like 14 this year. Beverly's another one making 14, and he's an expiring deal. And then the next guys after that are Anthony Edwards, obviously not getting traded. Jared Vanderbilt's making like 4.2. Okogie's 4. And then Jake Layman, everybody under that's like under $4 million. So it'd probably be Beverly, and then just however else, somebody else to make the money work. I'm not too crazy about that one for the Pistons, just because again, I don't think unless you're a big Jaden McDaniels, Leandro Bolmero, Jalen Noel fan, they don't really have like young guys to. Oh, Taurean Prince. Sorry, my bad. Taurean Prince is $15 million right now, so that's probably more likely to trade him since that money is easier, a little bit bigger. But again, they don't have like young guys. I like Bolmero, but I'm not sure that number one he'd be a fit with Cade. Number two, like what his long-term projection is. Definitely defensively, I think he would actually be really good, but he'd have to shoot the 3 ball. He's kind of projected more as a on-ball type of guard/wing. Let me check out his numbers right now because I know he played a little bit. He's had good games here and there. So he's played 22 games. He's only scoring 1.3 points per game. 29% overall from the field, 35 from 2, 18.2 from 3. So yeah, again, bad fit. And even McDaniels, let's check out his numbers. McDaniels is 7.8 points per game. He's shooting 53.7% from 2, not bad, but only 26.8 from the field, so from 3-point range. So that's obviously another bad fit with Cade. And I know they can't trade their pick this year because Golden State had their pick last year. So again, Stipend rule, they can't trade it this year. Maybe the Pistons want the 2023 picks for Scoot Henderson, Wembanyama, that draft, and I guess the Thompson twins are probably going to come out next year, not this year. So maybe they do that, but again, I'm not stoked on that one, just because I don't think it just seems too lopsided for the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna end up on a team, in my opinion, anywhere from the East or the West, anybody from that 7 to 12 range, because not only they got more to offer, some of them do, and they're just going to go more for the playoff push. I mean, tenders don't really got much to give. So if you're talking about tender, you want to have to bring in a third team. But what are some contenders you think he gonna go to? I know.
Well, can we circle back to your Washington idea though? Because I think that's an interesting one.
Okay.
But the sucky thing about it is the guys they would need to trade are either Dinwiddie, probably not going to happen because he just signed. He's 17 million. Bertans, probably the most likely, but he's owed 16 million this season, 16 again next, 17, and then 16. So he's got a 4-year deal, and he sucks this season. He's so bad. Like maybe you can milk the Wiz at that point for a bunch of first-round picks, and that's interesting there. And then KCP, maybe a KCP reunion. He's due 13 million, and then 14 some next year. And that one's I don't think it's all guaranteed, so at least you could come off of that. Number one, Rui Hachimura. He hasn't played, I don't think, all season. I think he's been out with like personal reasons. The team hasn't really said what, but he entered health and safety protocols not too long ago. He's somebody I always thought was intriguing. Last season, he put up 13.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, shooting 51.9 from the field, 32.8 from three, and 77 from the free throw line. Obviously, you want that 3-point percentage to go up, but it increased last year with him taking more attempts too. And he's a nice, he can play anywhere from 3 to the 5 too. And improving defensively. He was always a pretty good playmaker, athletic dude. He's another guy to just take a chance on, right? Even now with the Pistons the way they are, they could play him at small ball 5 and see if that's something that could be feasible long term. He'll always. I feel like he's going to be one of those guys that just always has a place, just because he does a lot of different things well, even if he hasn't quite yet found his way in. It's only his 3rd year in the league, and then again, they can probably milk them for a couple first-round picks. Let me show you how bad Davis Bertans is right now, because that's the deal they probably want to get off of, like, ASAP. So, hold on, let me go back to that. So he just signed this past offseason, November 20th, 2022, he signed a 5-year, $80 million deal, right? So what have they gotten out of that so far? So to this season, he's averaging 6.5 points per game, shooting 50% from the field, 32.7 from 3, barely cracking 1.8 rebounds. So, I mean, again, that seems like something they want to get off of ASAP. And, replacing him with Jerami Grant is, astronomically better, right? And, again, I think it's worth it just to try and milk them for picks or to probably lose somebody like Rui, who hasn't even been there, and they're still at 500 right now, at 18 and 18. So, again, I'm not crazy about it, but if there was one deal out there that I think, Troy Weaver could probably just fleece somebody, that's worth looking into. Then if it's 2 first-round picks, it'd be hard to say no, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be hard to say no, but I talked to the one that people don't really like. Which is the Spurs, like you said, because they got too much of the same guys. They really, I think how far are they? They 13, 14?
11th right now. They're 14 and 21. They're really only 5 games back from that 6 to 8 range, because even Denver is 18 and 16. So it's, like I said, 4 to 5 games out of 5 to 9 anywhere in that play-in.
How crazy would it be if he got traded back to Denver? How crazy?
I actually think it would be perfect. It would be perfect for them, but that's the one I haven't even floated out there, because I'm it doesn't seem like you would want to go back, right? I mean, the situation's the same when he left. Murray's coming back. Jokic is still the man. It just seemed like he wanted to leave that situation. So I haven't even brought it up, because I'm I don't think he'd entertain that. But you never know, crazier things to have happen.
That would be funny. But, yeah, I really like you said, I think the Spurs will want him. I think the Spurs will like him. I think Pop will like him, just because they got too much wings, and they ain't going to be able to do nothing. I mean, I think you could get a couple young players that are really intriguing, and you can get a nice first-round pick. Their first-round pick right now is in the top 8, which is...
Well, I think that's the hard part. They never trade first-round picks. Like San Antonio, if you look back in their history, I think the only time they traded a first-round pick in the last 20 years or something was... I'm not even sure because they brought it up when they traded Kawhi.
Mm.
They were saying that, like, they got a first round pick out of it. That's all they wanted because that's what they hold on to, and they don't pick them. And I mean, even if you think about it, like, when's the last time you remember a draft the Spurs just picked the first round? So that'd be my only thing. Like, they just don't trade them. So I'm not sure Jerami Grant's enough. Yeah.
That'll be interesting. So, another team, another team, if you had to pick a team, the other teams that intrigue you, that's in the 7 and 12 range, who you think they would be that are more likely to go? Do you think?
Like I said, Atlanta's still the one that to me sticks out just because they have a lot of young guys, they have picks, they have that need for Grant to come in and kind of save them. The other ones, like they're like even somewhere like the Minnesota one, I understand that fit makes sense, but like what Detroit's going to get back isn't that great, so that just doesn't seem to make as much sense. Even though I keep floating that Devin Vassell trade for San Antonio, and I agree with you, that one is harder to see because again, San Antonio is like so chill with just staying pat, right? Just being like, hey, we got our guys, we're just going to let this develop. We're not going to rush anything. We're going to do the rookie deals. If they don't work out, cool. We'll just figure that out along the way. So that one, again, I guess the only other one now that I'm looking at it is Sacramento. They're in 10th place right now at 16 and 22. And again, like we talked about when we first talked about Jerami Grant trades, Buddy Hield is at 22. You could just do a straight up swap, probably get a pick or something out of it for it because Buddy's probably, his value seems to be quite a bit below where Grant sits, right? Just because that relationship is odd. They seem like they wanted to move on from him last year, but for some reason didn't. Harrison Barnes is another one at $20 million, again, straight up, 1-for-1. I personally would want something else in that deal because Harrison Barnes is good, and I think he's a better fit alongside Cade and company since he's more of that off-ball shooter, and he actually fucking rebounds. I don't cuss much, but Grant, that's the one thing about Grant that drives me absolutely bananas is like he just, for all that talk, especially in the offseason about rebounding, and as part of the article I did back in, I want to say, end of November or December when it was like, why isn't he improving here? Like he was called out by KC for it, and he just doesn't seem as engaged as somebody like Sadiq, who's, like second on the team in rebounds. And he's been going back and forth with Isaiah Stewart for offensive rebounds, So I think Barnes does a lot of those little things better than Grant does, but Grant's obviously the better athlete, better man-to-man defender, and better shot creator off the dribble. So I think those are two out there. It'd be awesome if they would entertain Halliburton, but that's probably not going to happen. Again, that'd be nice, compliment to Cade, somebody I think who it would definitely be worth upsetting Killian, let's just say, trying to find a replacement there. But maybe the other one I think about just because they seem like always perpetually to be in this range and trying to get out of it. So let's take a look at. But I know Buddy Hield's still shooting the ball from three well, 37.4%, but his 2-point percentage is 42.7. I mean, that's not terrible, but again, to me, I think that Buddy Hield plus maybe like a pick or something would be another one that is worth it because Buddy Hield fits with anybody, right?
Yeah, that's another one that I thought of. Like, would you think if they put, like, you think it'd be enough if they do Harrison Barnes too with like their first round? You think that'll be enough or not really? Or would you want another on top of that?
Just my gut tells me that Barnes is worth more to them than Hield because Barnes has played 33 games and he started 33 games. He's shooting 47.4 from 2, 41.5% from 3, 83.9% from the field. So he's one of those guys like every team wants, right? Combo forward who does all the complementary work, 6.1 rebounds, so he's still getting it done there. So that one's the one. I just have a hard time with that one because he is good enough that I don't think they would say, yeah, we'll give you another pick along with him. But he's also not like that great to where he, warrants trying to pull somebody else in. And it's odd because, we know Grant's better, right? The better player, and I think most people would agree with that. But Barnes is so valuable as a connector that it's just hard to let him go for something. It would be hard to be like, oh yeah, we're going to let go of this guy that's a perfect complementary piece to your team, and then attach something else. You know what I mean? That's the part that I think is hard for Barnes, and I think they do like him there, and I think it is part of the reason why he hasn't been traded. Is again, he's just like incredibly valuable, but he's also not somebody you're going to give up extra for, or that one that like, oh yeah, we'll attach this thing else to do it. Whereas Buddy Hield, he's making more money than Barnes for one, so I think that's it. And again, his overall shooting percentage is 38.9 for our Buddy Hield, so I think that at least you can point to and be like, oh yeah, you probably want to get that long-term money, and his overall percentage, you can be to like, hey, I need a first-round pick along with that if I'm going to take on that kind of a percentage. So
yeah, you might be able to police the Kings just a little bit. You might be able to get like an extra second rounder just because I'm going to get off that salary. Who knows?
I would just be like, hey, we'll give you lottery protected, right? You're trading Grant there because they probably think he's going to help him get over the hump into the play-in or playoffs, right? Or maybe even top 10 protected. Roll the dice there, because then even if they get that 11 to 14 pick, then that would be nice. So maybe top 10. Yeah, top 10 is probably a better one.
Yeah.
And realistically, like thinking of like GMs talking to each other, it's easy to convince somebody, hey, we'll top 10 protect this. Jerami Grant is going to be better than anybody that you can get from pick 11 on down, right?
Yeah, not lying. Yeah, but another thing.
I mean, Buddy. One last thing on Buddy Hield, though. At least you could just come in and be like, just shoot threes, dude. Like that's all we want you to do, because that's what this team needs, especially in the starting lineup. Just shoot threes, dude. We don't care. Fire away.
Yeah, that's another subject we want to talk about. So you said about the two-way players that you really like and might be intrigued. Like Cassius Stanley, for his second career, that 19 points, and for him to hit 3 or 4 from 3 was really interesting. Like it was really interesting to see that, because he played with the team. He didn't go outside from the role. He didn't try to do too much. What do you think about Cassius Stanley's performance and the two-way guys?
I think he's been the best one, like by far. And I mean, truth be told, I was a big Cassius Stanley fan coming out of the draft in 2020. Yeah, so he's a 2020 guy. I thought he should have gone first round because, I mean, number one, he's a wing. He's really athletic. His shot was something that was kind of along the way, but he also was a pretty good passer and ball handler. So I always thought he was somebody a team should have taken in the first round because, again, it's hard to find those wings, right? Hyper athletic, really good defender also. Got to throw that in there. Probably better man-to-man defender than team defender, but just a lot of tools you can't find in a bunch of different guys. But he's only played 3 games, but in those 3 games, he's scoring 10.7 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, shooting 50% from 2, 44% from 3, and then 100% from the free throw line, but he's only taking like 2 a game. He's taking 3 threes per game in all 3 of his games. So, I mean, it's small sample size, so whatever. But I think what you said is the best thing. Like, he's not out there like, oh, I'm going to take over, ISO time, kind of stuff. He's getting the feeds, he's standing in the corner, he's playing his role, and he's filling in the gaps the way that the scheme is supposed to be run. So part of it's not surprising because he's been on the Motor City Cruise pretty much all season, right? They had him in training camp, so he understands the system. He's been here. But I think this is like why you do those things. It pays dividends now to where like you don't have to catch him up. He knows what to do, and this is why I think he's shown out of all the guys like, oh yeah, this is the guy we should probably shift Jamarco Pickett's two-way away from and like give it to Cassius Stanley instead, or sign him straight up. I love Rodney Magruder. I think he's like a pro's pro. But if they did say be like, hey, we're gonna let you go, or we're gonna trade you so we can sign Cassius Stanley, it makes sense.
Absolutely, I wouldn't be. I would be all for it because, like you said, he is an athlete. His shooting we will have to see more of a sample size. But if
Yeah, yeah.
even hit corner threes, you know what I'm saying, 2 or 3 a game, that would be fine with me. And he
Yeah.
looks like a player who just gonna fit into this role, and you know, not gonna be hard. Go get everybody. I like it, so.
Yeah, and his shooting splits in college were 36% from three. So I mean, he wasn't bad there either. He took 86 threes across, let's see, 29 games. So that's not bad. So, and he shot 73.3% from the line. So it's not like he was terrible. He didn't show terrible form at the line. And he's had a year or two now to work on it. And the G League, he was Indiana's second-round pick, like a late second-round pick last year. Had time to work there. So, again, how old is he? He's like 21, I think. Let's see. He is 22. So, again, this is the kind of guy that Pistons need to invest in now. I think Jamarco Pickett's like 2 years older than him. I think he's like 24, I want to say.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
He's 24. I think he stayed on.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those other guys, I don't know if there's another guy that you like, but to be quite honest, like I'm like, I don't know about these dudes, man. I thought Jamarco Pickett would be good because I know you and I have talked about him like on and off, and man, he's laid an egg every time. And it's sad because he's played in 6 games now, so.
Yeah. I don't think he's really done much with his opportunity. Just need to I don't know. But one dude I'm gonna talk about, I think he's on the Raptors now. I think he played at Michigan. His name is DJ Wilson.
Oh yeah, DJ.
Yeah, he is 6'10", and I think he's been absolutely killing them for them. You know, I don't know if they hard cap. They might be, but if there's some way we can get that dude in the offseason, I'll be all for it. He's been really decent for him. That's one guy. I think he was a two-way guy or whatever, and he might this guy signed because of the COVID protocol. But that's one dude I look at, you know.
Yeah, no, I've always been a DJ fan. So I'm a Michigan alum. I was there from 2012 until just this past May. So yeah, like I always thought he was good, and even the Milwaukee fans, because he was in Milwaukee for like 3.5 seasons, we'll call it, because he got traded midway through last year. And they always kind of called for more of him because he could shoot the three. Like his career percentage right now is only 32.7, but like his second year he shot 36.2. That third year the fourth year where he got traded, he was shooting 34.5% from three there. So he shot 35.7. Excuse me. When he was with Milwaukee, and then shot 34.5 the whole year. So he always had that in his bag. He kind of had that in Michigan, too. He's on 25 right now, but he's only played in 2 games for the Raptors. Looks like he's only taken 1 3 per game. He hasn't hit one yet, unfortunately, but shooting 88.9% from the field. So that's legit. And his free throw percentage is 80%, and he's attempted 5 of them per game right now. So yeah, 12 points per game in these two games, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Yeah, I agree. He's always been that like kind of modern stretch big, and what people had hoped or was sold on with Trey Lyles, I think is exactly what you're touching on. The stretch guy. I think he's a little bit bigger than Trey Lyles, if I'm not mistaken. 6'10", 230, so he's about the same size. But yeah, I think he's a better like 4 or 5 guy where he can play both the power forward and the center spot a little bit better than Lyles, just because I think being in John Beilein's system, played with Mo Wagner and him 1 year, so they kind of understand what to do down low. You have a track record of that with Michigan guys, especially at the 4 and 5 spot, that know, like, hey, even if I'm not that athletic, I know what to do functionally and foundationally here at the big man spot.
Yeah, another thing, would you think, considering that the Raptors are doing poorly, would you think they would try to make a trade for Jerami Grant, like to expand the trade, or no?
Yeah, they're 16 and 17, so I think Masai is always down to trade, right? Like, it just seems like he's one of those dudes, like Troy Weaver, that's always down to deal if he thinks it's in his favor. And My guess would be yes, just for Jerami Grant, and it's the deal that I floated when we talked a couple times ago. Gary Trent for um, Jerami Grant, because I think Grant is the better shot creator, the better defender, and again, Masai is trying to fill his team with these guys that are like 6'7" and up. Right now, there's Spee, Chris Boucher, Delano Banton, Scotty Barnes, Precious Achua, OG Ananobi, Kem Birch, even Yuta Watanabe, who's one of their young vets there on the end, and Isaac Bonga. I forgot they signed him too. All of those guys are 6'7" and above. Like that is what, and everybody kind of knows it. Like it's a joke, but it's not a joke at this point. It's like Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, and that's about it. That's in the lineup that is smaller than 6'7", right? And Gary Trent and Malachi Flynn. That's the other guy that's in the rotation. So that's small. And even then, Van Vliet, Gary Trent, and even Malachi Flynn, like they earn their minutes because they're really good shooters and defenders and have like higher end skills, even though they might not have the size that Masai is trying to get. So I think that would be good. And where what's his face? Gary Trent he's like the 2-3 in their lineup. That might be something that I'm just not sure. Like I don't know if they could envision Grant coming in and kind of playing that same role, but I think they've asked Gary Trent to create enough to where it seems like that would be who Grant would take over for. Let me look at their usage right now. So Gary Trent's at 20.1% usage, so that seems like the role that Grant could come in and fill right away. And they're saying Chris Boucher has a 21.6% usage. Yeah, even OG Ananobi's up to 23.0, so maybe OG kind of takes a backseat to Grant. I haven't watched enough. I'm a big OG fan, but I haven't watched enough to really comment this season about whether Grant should take over that role or not. But it seems right now Van Vliet's their only like consistent shot creator, right? Probably like Gary Trent's had to fill in a little bit more, and Van Vliet and Grant seem to be a better projection for like generating their own offense than even somebody like Siakam that was, kind of lost his 3-point shot. So
yeah, I
think it would be worth it just because of that. Like, It seems like Masai would be at least intrigued with the idea of like, yeah, I can throw out a lineup where everybody is 6'7" and bigger, and they actually have skills. And then there's Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I just thought that because in my head I was like, they might want to do that just because why? And they a team who likes to compete. I don't think they really want to tank because they got all them guys. They spent all that money on Pascal, all that money on Fred VanVleet. So I don't think they just want to just be like, hey, we're just going to keep on.
Yeah, and even Pascal, like people are down on him this season, but he's still a really good player. Like if they were like, oh yeah, we'll trade you Pascal Siakam for Jerami Grant, I'd be like, all right, cool. Like that seems like the kind of guy that the Pistons need. That the guy gets a lot of rebounds, can generate his own offense. I mean, the really only bad thing about him now is just his three-point shots kind of went away, which again for the Pistons, that's like who cares, right? You just need somebody that's ready to do more dirty work.
Yeah.
Than Grant. And Grant's not a bad player. I just wish he would do more of those little things like rebound, do a little bit more off-ball stuff. And we talked about his ISOs. I think his ISOs are a little bit overblown, but I think he just does that a little bit too much. And especially with Cade now here, it's just like we're all antsy. Like we all know, like, yeah, the ball should be in Cade's hands,
Yeah, for sure. I think there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I think that I mentioned free agents we should go after in the offseason or no.
Wait, one more 10-day two-way guy that I think is another Michigan guy though. He started his college career at Wake Forest, but he ended his last year at Michigan, and that's Chondi Brown Jr. He's on Atlanta's team right now. I did a piece on him when I wrote for Piston Powered about why I thought he needed to be a second-round pick. It didn't really have like great statistics even at Michigan, but he was our premier perimeter defender. Wagner was obviously awesome, but he was more big man, like keep people away from the basket. Every now and then he would be throwing like the best forward, but Chaundi was like the guy that, okay, let's get on the guy's best perimeter option and then eliminate it. And he's also an amazing three-point shooter, which continues now. So he's played 3 games for Atlanta so far. They signed him away from the Lakers, thank God. There's only one team I can't stand, and that's the Lake Show. So he's on Atlanta's roster right now, and he's played 3 games with them. He's scored 9.7 points, 4.7 rebounds, 1.3 assists. I think he still has not recorded a turnover. Yeah, 0 turnovers so far, and he's shooting 40% from 3. Sadly, he's only shooting 30% from the field, the rest of the field, and then 83.3% from the line. But 6'5", 215, I believe, is what he's listed at. Big, stout dude. I mean, the definition of 3-and-D wing. So he's another guy I thought the Pistons should have signed. I wish they would have. And if there was one 10-day guy I would stick my neck out for, it would be Chaundi. Number one, because I've been on campus, seen this dude. I put the work in. And again, that complementary piece to where he can end up being somebody like Pat Connaughton, you know, like the average NBA fan doesn't think about Pat Connaughton that much, but like his spacing, unfortunately, Chaundi's probably not the athlete Pat Connaughton is, because Pat Connaughton is like a dunk contest, you know. But still, like Pat Connaughton swung a finals game last year with just his 3-point shooting, right? I think Chaundi Brown has that same kind of thing, and much better defender than Connaughton. So I think that's one guy that I would definitely stick my neck out for. It's Chaundi Brown. He's puts in the work, 3-and-D dude, man. He's just always going to be there, knocking down shots and making a difference.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely would be interesting. But is there any guys right now that you pay for? You need shooting and big man you would try to trade for, or any shooters you would try to trade for right now if you're the Pistons before the deadline?
You know, I just saw a tweet today. Let me pull up his numbers on Jalen Smith. You know, there's a big deal because the Suns didn't pick up his option, and everybody's calling him a bust and whatever. And then I think it's Aiden went into he went into health and safety protocols. So then they have to call on Jalen Smith. And let's pull up his numbers here because I think he's played in the last like 6 games or something. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I know he's been balling out pretty recently.
Yeah, I want to say I've seen the same tweet. I want to say 16 points, 10 rebounds, if I believe correct.
Okay, here it is. So his last 4 games. So Aiden's been out. Last 4 games, he had 16 points per game, 10.5 rebounds, 1.3 blocks, shooting, 56% overall from the field, only 25% from 3. 88.9% from the free throw line, and he's getting there 4.5 times. So I think he's somebody, and again, you know, you and I have gone back and forth about like not really wanting to draft a center, especially up high. He's somebody I think would be worth signing, or at least and now trying to trade for, maybe if the Suns. This is where it gets difficult for the Suns, though, I think, because they kind of need big man help. That's why they brought in JaVale McGee. But now Jalen Smith there, maybe he kind of played himself into them needing to keep him to make a run, because he makes a much bigger difference than JaVale. No offense to JaVale, because he's, you know, younger legs. Probably, I don't know that he's a better shot blocker than JaVale, but he definitely had that potential to do it. And if his shooting, especially if his shooting catches on, then that's definitely something like JaVale doesn't have. It would make a huge difference in a playoff. But even if he's playing like 5 to 10 minutes in the playoffs. So, but also, again, going back to maybe they trade him. He's a young guy. He didn't do anything in the playoffs last year, so maybe they're more than happy to get something else out of it, even if it's. I mean, I wouldn't want to trade Frank Jackson, but say like the Suns say, hey, like, can we have Frank Jackson and like we'll give you Jalen Smith and like a 2nd-round pick or something. That might be something worth entertaining, right?
For sure. I think because I know he's athletic enough to at least he's getting like 16 points and 10 4 or 5 games. That's interesting, especially because he's young. So I would be all for that. All over that, man. And I think I don't know. I haven't paid attention to any shooters, but I know there's some of them that were kind of intriguing that would be the off season. I've always liked this dude because, you know, I'm a State fan. Sorry to say, I am a Michigan State fan. You know, people.
Oh, that's all good. The only teams I really don't like in college are obviously Ohio.
Mhm.
Got it.
Oh yeah, yeah, me too. So a dude, I believe, Britton Forbes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's always a free agent. I know he's like a undersized guard, you know, whatever. He's like dude, always lit it up three. That would be one dude that I would want to come in, you know what I'm saying, have him light up, shoot threes, whatever. Definitely for a free agent. Just, you know, just my opinion or whatever. Because I don't think the free agent class is strong, but I don't think it's really weak.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super weak, but I don't think it's super strong. You got some intriguing things. But
You know, on shooters, I have a hard time thinking about it because it's really like the only guys I can think of that are coming up being free agents are like Colin Sexton. I think Pat Connaughton's coming up on free agency, and then Jalen Brunson would be another one. I don't know that Jalen Brunson's like a shooter, but I also think like, I mean, the Pistons are in this weird spot. Like, Cade is good enough that you don't want to just be like, oh, we're just going to tank for like 3 or 4 years and be all right. Like, you at least want to build stuff around him. It's like, hey, we care about winning as much as you do, because that's obviously all he cares about. So I think guys like that, like, you know, Jalen Brunson, I think is the perfect kind of guy to think about, because that's another dude who, again, only cares about winning. Like, he's always trying to make the right play, can play either guard spot, is cool. We've seen in Dallas, he's cool with Luka, you know, on the ball and figure out how to make that work. Good defensively. I don't know that he's as good as Killian, because Killian's obviously got size and athleticism all over him, but there's not going to be a dramatic drop-off if, like, you slot him in there. He's obviously got a lot of offensive moves and things in his bag that Killian may never have, unfortunately. I'm not going to say he will never have those things, but so far it's just been tough to see. And I'm of the mindset that it's probably better for Killian's long-term growth to move to the bench, so that you're not forcing him into these situations where, you know, Cade's dropping 20, Sadiq's getting like 15, Beefstew's getting like 12 rebounds, Grant's creating, and then it's like, what is Killian doing? You know? So, yeah, I think those would be the guys. And I really think, like, free agencies should be not a simple thing, but it should be like throw a max at DeAndre Ayton, throw a max at Miles Bridges, throw some kind of big deal at Colin Sexton, and then whoever else, right?
yeah, Colin Sexton would definitely be interesting. It would definitely, I would be like, what are we going to do? Because the thing about it is, even though he got an injury, we've seen people bounce back more than that from those type of injuries, especially now in NBA medicine. So he's a guy you might need to take a gamble on, because I think he's a definitely a good enough shooter. But my thing is, are we going to put him in the starting lineup, or is he going to come off the bench? That's the real question. Because he's short. He's short, dude. Ain't he like only like 6 foot?
6'1", 190 is what they list him at. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. And then another guy who kind of intrigues me, that's going in free agency, and Washington probably ain't gonna sign him because he injured, is Thomas Bryant. I would definitely have to see. He might play something here. I don't think so, but I would have to see what he looked like before I sign up. But he's another guy that I might be like, hold on, because Washington, I don't know if they're gonna re-sign him because they got Stafford, so I don't know. But
yeah, I've always liked him too. I liked him coming out of Indiana when he was playing for Tom Crean there. The only thing is defensively, he's bad, man.
Oh, I didn't know.
Which, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the second unit, right? But I guess he and Kelly Olynyk are kind of redundant. He's younger than Olynyk, but yeah, I agree with you. If he was healthier, if he's all healthy, I think he's a good. I think he's always proven he's been a good backup big, a good shooter, good rebounder, like a good screener. Does a lot of great things on offense to be complimentary, and like he's always going to be in that like 6 to 8 man type of thing. If he was any decent on defense, I think he would easily be like on like a Lakers type of radar because like those teams that are always kind of in contention because that's what they needed is somebody that can shoot the three. Um, not to say Brook Lopez is washed or anything, but like how he's more useful on defense at this point, and all he does kind of is like space the floor out on offense, occasionally do things. If he could just do that, protect the rim, you know, and I know that's a tall order to say protect the rim as well as Brook Lopez, but even like halfway somewhere like that, I think he would be much more sought after. But for the Pistons, I think yeah, especially in terms of what I just said, like trying to find things around Cade that work and proving like you want to win. He's like pretty much the opposite, the other side of the coin to Beef Stew, where Beef Stew is like switchable defender. He's going to give you hustle on defense all the time. Like Thomas Bryant's that same thing, but it's offense as opposed to defense. You don't know what kind of defense you're going to get out of Bryant, just like you don't know what kind of offense you're going to get out of Beef Stew so far.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But another thing is I want to get with people. I think the Pistons, you're gonna see the Pistons be more aggressive, and then free agents. I think they lean more to build around K. Just because put out, I hate losing, and you definitely don't want to keep on losing, especially you got the #1 pick because rookie contract can come up and you're like, dude, you ain't putting nothing around me. I'm out of here. So I think we're going to see the Pistons definitely do something this free agency and this next offseason. I just think it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a big move, but they definitely going to make moves that's going to be surrounded around Cade and building for the future. And at least be like, oh, this team might make a deep enough jump to be like the 8th seed or the 9th seed or the 10th. I think we're going to see another season like this next year. I don't. Me personally, I don't know about you, but
Yeah, I definitely. The only thing is like I said, I think that should be what they do is like throw a max at either Ayton and Miles, like try and put out the feelers to see who would want it. Both organizations, the Suns and the Hornets, are notoriously cheap. The Hornets kind of backed themselves in the corner, not already signing Miles to an extension, right? Because at this point, he's balled out. They have to sign him. They have to re-sign him. And if they don't, it's just going to come back and blow up in their face. They were one that, like we had talked about trading for Jerami Grant, where I think they could, if they did feel like that, like, oh, snap, like we don't want to max Miles, but we can't just let him go. That would, if they could structure any kind of deal to where they get Jerami Grant. He's not the athlete Miles is, but he at least, replaces that production. And then Miles ends up here back in Michigan, back home in Michigan. That would be great. I think that would work out the best. But that's just my thing with them is they kind of almost back themselves into that corner now. And I find it hard to see them, even if it gets maxed, they would probably try and do like a sign-in trade, I guess. And again, that's something I think the Pistons should consider is like, hey, we'll give you Grant, we'll sign Miles to the max, and then work it out from there. But I think Ayton and Miles Bridges should be like it, and then everybody else is kind of secondary. I'm looking over the list now of like dudes that are going to be free agents, and it's like there are nice like connector kind of pieces in there. Like Jeremy Lamb is going to be a free agent. Like you said, Thomas Bryant. Somebody like Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson's going to be a free agent. I think he'd be a nice kind of connector piece. Let's see, Chris Boucher, Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba was somebody I brought up before. I think he'd be a nice investment. He's only like 24, 23, something like that. Having a better season this year with the Magic. Big, long dude that would work. Let's see, Sexton. Sexton, again, that's the one, like you said, you don't know if he's in the starting lineup, if he's whatever. I think the Pistons are just kind of in a position to where they're like, it does not matter. And I do think he and Cade can work. Killa, obviously, Casey has shown he likes to play 2 point guards at one time. And Sexton is more of the scorer, and Cade is more of the playmaker. So I think they at least complement each other there. Cade also has the size that Sexton doesn't. I think Sexton gets to the line a little bit more than and Cade at this point, so I think they can work again. Killian's kind of this. I hate to say like bump in the road or like wrench in the system because I don't think he's bad. I just think it sucks so far. He's been hurt his first year, and even that thumb injury this year. It's just been hard to tell like what his place is. And the coaching staff has done him no favors to where they put him in these spots to where, okay, you drive one or two plays, all right, just chill there. Like, okay, now you're going to spot up, and then, okay, just sit there. They just haven't schemed him to, like, be into a specific role. That's kind of why I've been critical of coaches this year, even though I still really like Casey. It's just between Killian and Stewart, I think it's like 50-50 on both of them. They haven't really stepped up when they should, but the coaching staff doesn't seem like they really have set out, like, this is your defined role and this is what we need you to do. Yeah. Whereas somebody like Frank Jackson and even Hamidou Diallo, like, they understand. Hamidou's like, I'm the energy guy. I'm going to make a big dunk and it's going to change the course, and I'm just going to be aggressive and get to the rim. Frank Jackson, too, like, I'm just going to bust threes even if they're not falling. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to pump fake, and then when some guys bite on a pump fake, I'm going to drive to the rim. Like, he never takes mid-range shots. It's just, bust threes and then go to the hoop. Like Killian and Beef Stew, like, even if they did something like that, right, it just seemed like it would be more effective, which, again, I think is like 50-50 on them to not just take the reins when they should as much. And then, again, on the coaching staff to where they're like, no, you're only doing these things.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think, to be honest, I don't know if Dwayne Casey is really good at developing. I'm gonna be honest with you, because some of the times, like, some of his lineups is questionable. Like, to me, he likes to play the veterans over the young guys. And I'm just like, bro, we're trying to get the young guys to play. I get it. You can't just have young guys on the team. That's totally crazy. But you ain't supposed to be giving, all these minutes, like 25, 30 minutes. Come on. We know what coach will let them sit down. So I'm starting to believe that maybe it's not. Maybe not this season, maybe not next season, but it's going to be a time to where I think it's like, maybe, I don't know. But.
Yeah, I mean, I think the time is kind of already now. I don't want to speculate on whatever Coach Casey's personal issues are that he's had to miss time for, but I think it's at least worth considering now. Whereas like last season, I was like, no, it's out of the question. But I just think, again, like seeing what's going on with Killian and with Beef Stew, and only a few people here and there have talked about it, but like all of that turnover with the assistant coaches this last year, we kind of touched on it last time. That's on Casey, right? That's not Troy Weaver. The coaches decide their staff. And I understand maybe some of those guys like Sean Sweeney wanted to leave and go somewhere else to like, hook up with their buddies, or maybe they got paid more. But the guys they replaced him with, that would be my inclination if I had to pinpoint like what seems to be off, especially with offense, it would be that. We know Coach Casey's not an offensive guy. He's an awesome defensive coach. Like, people forget he's the reason the Mavericks beat LeBron in that Heatles team that first one. Like, he's the one that came up with that scheme to mess him up, And then Jason Terry went off. I don't even want to call it irrational confidence because he hit so many game winners throughout his career. He just does what he does. Took over and Dirk was steady, and everybody kid was there. But Casey was the guy, lining up that defense and figuring it out. And I think he's always been that way. But offensively, I think that's where it seems to be more of this thing that is getting in the way, where like you have, and again, everything goes back to getting Cade now, right? It's a blessing, but it also is at this time where, like, if you're not developing the system around him well enough on offense, then you gotta shift gears. And just so far, it's been odd. And it seems like you and I have touched on it before. It seems like it's more catered to Grant's strengths rather than Cade's strengths of this like come off pin downs and curls, and we don't run pick and roll. And again, maybe part of that's Isaiah Stewart. But again, I go back to coaching of like, why aren't you running pick and rolls all summer long, like trying to develop that? But you've got Cade lined up along the way. He thrives as pick and roll, and Killian too. Killian's a pick and roll ball handler. So again, I think if that's that's something the coaches didn't want to do, and then to continue to run this kind of pass the ball around, don't run pick and roll offense, then it is time to move on, because that's not what's going to help Cade, number one, most, and even the other guys on this, young guys on this team like Killian, who's a pick and roll creator. So
yeah, I don't know, but my thing is, if we were to replace him, what coach would you go after? Or the coaches look at like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Actually, I've been looking at this. Like when I play NBA 2K, I've been firing Coach Casey at the end of the season so much. Jama Mahalela, I believe is how you pronounce it. He is currently on the Warriors staff as an assistant coach. He was on Casey's staff, actually, as an assistant from 2013 to 2018. He was in the Raptors 905, their G League coach for 2018 to 2020. And then he came back to the bench to be an assistant for the Raptors, and they won it with Kawhi. And then he's been with Golden State since 2021. So he's obviously been around successful staffs. He's built up a lot of relationships as a coach since 2013. He just, you just look around, and he's another dude that just seems to kind of have a good pedigree of like going to places that worked. Been in that Toronto system for a while under Masai, under both Casey and Nick Nurse. So again, he obviously has been around successful coaches, built up relationships with a bunch of different players. Did some time in the G League, so I think he's somebody worth looking into. And it's Jama Mahlalela, I think is how you say it. So it's JMA, and then his last name is Mahla. He's Swazi, I think, is the nationality. He's born in Eswatini. So another one of Masai's, things of reaching out to places in the world where we haven't, and just using his platform to help out other people from less privileged areas and all that stuff too. So I think he would be number one, somebody I would want to talk to on it. Another dude is Dayton's coach, Anthony Grant. He had 1 year of experience under Billy Donovan in Oklahoma City when he was there in the NBA, so he does have that. He was Billy Donovan's assistant for a long time in Florida, so he learned under another really good coach. And he's been at Dayton for a while now. Let me try and pull up the numbers for you. He might be somebody that I think a lot of people would say, like, huh? But like what he's done at Dayton is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
He was at VCU too when they kind of caught on. He was the coach from 06 to 09 when they won. In his first season, they won 28 games. And the next season, they won 24. And then that final season in 09 is when they made that tournament run, and they were 24-10. So he had really good success there. He went to Alabama, where he kind of like went up and down. He had 17 wins in 25, 21, 23, and then 13 and 18 before going to OKC to be an assistant with Billy Donovan for a little bit. And then he's been at Dayton since 2017, 18. In that time, they've won 14 games, and then 21, and then 29 and 14, and then they're 8-5 currently right now. And he's that. A lot of people think that Dayton team, the 1920, got robbed, because a lot of people are pretty sure they would have gone 5-4 with Obi Toppin, and Crutcher, Jalen Crutcher on that team. Man, they're a really fun team to watch. Dude knows how to run offense. Seems to be somebody who like really forms relationships too. Underrated recruiter. I mean, I think they're starting like 3 freshmen right now, if I'm not mistaken. But like most of their team right now is freshmen too. And being 85, that's no joke, right? Definitely keep an eye out on Dayton though. They have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 freshmen right now that actually play for them that make a difference. So, even if he doesn't get recruited by an NBA team, I think like in the next 2 to 3 years, if these guys stay there, they're going to be a team that everybody's going to be like, we do not want to play with.
Yeah. Another dude that the Pistons might know. What would you think if the Pistons, try to get Jerry Stackhouse from Vanderbilt?
I'm kind of mixed on Stack. I think he knows how to coach basketball for sure, but I don't know. He was good as a Raptors assistant too. Another guy that was there with Casey and Nurse and Masai. Man, Masai is like, the G when it comes to finding talent. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but he wouldn't be number one. If there was another like former Piston amongst the coaching ranks that I would look into, it's actually Darvin Ham, old Ham Slams. He was the assistant for Budenholzer in both Atlanta and now in Milwaukee. He's been around the coaching ranks for a while. Let me try and pull up his I think he was a assistant in San Antonio for a while too. Let me take a look. But he's another guy that's been around for a while. I think definitely deserves a shot. Because it's not like, it's not like, okay, I love Chauncey Billups, but or hiring him straight, having no experience, stupid idea. Just like hiring Jason Kidd, having no experience, stupid idea. But even Jason Kidd, he hasn't been terrible, but he's done some really stupid things, right? And the Mavericks are obviously kind of middling right now. So Milwaukee kept going downhill before he was there. I think that's always a bad idea. So Darvin Ham, he actually went through Albuquerque in my ranks. He was the New Mexico Thunderbirds assistant coach and then head coach for a while, from 2008 to 2018. That was kind of before the G League really got started, and there were these developmental teams all over the place. So he was down there. And then he got hired onto the Lakers staff 2011 to 2013. And then he got hired on a Coach Bud staff in Atlanta from 2013 to 2018. And then he's been with the Milwaukee ever since. So won a title last year, obviously, with them. Another dude that's been around. I think for him, he played for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different NBA teams. Obviously, he was on that title team going to work with the Pistons, so he has connection here. He also was born, I don't know if he was born, but yeah, he was born and went to high school in Saginaw up in Michigan, so he's got roots in the community. I think he's a really good person if you wanted to really have that kind of connection with the franchise and especially with the local community, he'd be a perfect one. He also had time playing overseas for CB Granada in between his Wizards stint and when he came back in the league in the Bucks, and that was in 1999. And then he was on just kind of the random developmental leagues path after the Pistons. He was on what I'm seeing on Wikipedia is Talk and Text Phone Pals. I have no freaking idea what that is. But then he ended up in Albuquerque in 2007 and 2008 playing for the Thunderbirds there. And then he ended up on the Austin Toros before finally going back. And I don't know if you know the Showtime Laker Michael Cooper. But he's a New Mexico Lobo, maybe one of our probably 2 or 3 in terms of the best New Mexico Lobo that ever played. He played with Magic and Co. and Showtime. He was a coach for the Thunderbirds for a long time, and he joined up with Coach Coop's. Darvin Ham joined up with Coach Coop's staff, and then that's where he started his coaching career. So I think if you're looking at kind of the perfect Piston next head coach archetype, he was a champ with the Pistons in 2004. He was a champ as an assistant coach last year. He's from Saginaw. It just makes a lot of sense. He's not just some dude they're bringing in for nostalgia reasons or whatever. Cut his teeth for a while. I think he would be, again, another guy I think should be the top of the list. And I think he has had a couple interviews around here and there. But he's eventually going to be a head coach, I think.
Yeah. He actually is a guy that I know too much about, but I did a video on him and did some research. I really like him as a head coach.
Yeah.
I think he would definitely be a new head coach somewhere, and why not try to be the Pistons? Because he's got a lot of coaching experience, and he has some experience, winning championships, so he knows what it takes. And absolutely, why not? I might title this video Darvin Ham, new Pistons.
Yeah. Especially with those roots, he's from Saginaw. I think that can't be undersold, right? This isn't just some dude that's going to come in and you got to sell him on Detroit and all this other stuff. This is home, right? He knows the area. He knows what the challenges are. He knows about, the community, people coming up from that area, where outreach and stuff like that. So even somebody like Casey, who obviously isn't from the area but understands the struggles of people of color, specifically in Michigan at large. He took a while to understand what it is, whereas Darvin knows that's where it's from. So.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't have any more topics to talk about. Let me know if you do. If not, I think the video will end here.
Yeah.
So much topics.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything more that you want to say? Well,
That's it right now. Not until next time. We'll have to think about more for next time.
oh yeah, for sure. Well, it was a pleasure of doing another live stream.
Same, man, always.
And yeah, man, make sure y'all go check out stuff. Absolutely great. But until next time, it's Mike, and I enjoyed this so much. But we're gonna see what we're gonna talk about. I don't know when it's gonna be the next time, but hopefully soon. And enjoy your day. I hope y'all all have a great day. Thank you again for coming, man. And peace.